Hi everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to have a look at the last version of the ASUS GPU TWEAK III, which is the 1.5.3.1. So without further ado, let's start. Alright guys, here we are. So first thing first, whatever you are going to change here, you have to test it with different softwares or different games, because whatever you are changing here is going to affect the performances of the GPU of the system itself. And in certain cases, you might also cause major issues. So keep in mind that this is just a tutorial to show how the software works. So please be aware of what you're doing and always test. With that said, down in the description you will find the link to download the latest version of this software. When you open the software, the first thing you're going to see is this main window here when all the things are going to happen. So once you download it, install the software, when you open it, you are going to see this main window here where all the important things are going to happen. So as we can see, we have sliders, we have some information here and other profiles. We will get that in a minute. I just want to get an overview of the interface and then we will go step by step on the menus. Keep in mind that this might be a long video that probably, depending on how long it might be, I have to split it on 2 or 3 parts. Alright, the first thing I'm gonna do, you probably might like this color, but I don't like it at all. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to go to this settings here and change what it was, interface, and change the colors, because really I don't like it at all. I might probably choose green. And also here probably I'm going to choose green. You can change whatever colors you like the most, or you can leave it as it is. So while we are here, let's have a quick look of what this general menu is. Here we can choose start with Windows, start minimize it. So whenever it starts, the software is going to be on the taskbar. I prefer it that also. This you can choose if you want to show monitor on startup. I don't like that. And also these other settings here, depending on how you prefer the most. So whatever you are changing here, you have to save it before moving to the next tab. So let's move to the interface. Just quickly, okay, temperature scale. You can choose in which unit you want the temperature to be shown, and the time format. I will prefer 24 hours is easiest, in my opinion. Here, as we were changing the colors, the text color, and you can choose also here a background wallpaper if you like it. The monitor is basically the monitoring submenu. So here you can choose. Where to save the log history file, the time, and other things. Usually I leave it as it is. I think you don't have to change it neither. Probably this one I want to save. If you have more than one GPU here installed on your system, you can choose different option here. In this color, I'm probably going to change the green too, because I don't like that red thing. Is strange for me. And here we have the hotkeys. You can change them by just clicking inside here and choose whatever you want. I'm going to leave it as it is. And that's it. Let's close the submenu and move to the main page. As we can see, we changed all the colors. I prefer green, but you can choose whatever you want. All right, let's have an overview of what we have here. We have this these informations here. As we can see, GPU power, voltage, clock, and whatever else. So we have the fan speeds, the GPU temperature, and frame rate target, and everything else. You can change the order of this information by just clicking here. So let's say, for example, I want the GPU temperature to be shown as the first thing, the voltage also, clock, and then power. And let's say the display, I prefer it here with the frame rate. These are just my customization, guys. If you don't like it, or if you want to move something different, you can do that. As you can see, it's free to move wherever you want. I will save it and go back to the main page. Okay, this is a strange glitch. Whenever you change here, I don't know if ASUS knows this and they're going to change it. This is a strange behavior of the software. Whenever you change the order of those stuffs, it's going to disappear and overlay with other things. Probably if I have to resize the window, is going to be shown properly. This is a strange behavior of the software, to be honest. I'm gonna close it and then open it again. All right, now it's shown properly. This is a strange behavior, honestly, and probably it's with the next version they're going to fix this. Here on the side we have the OSD scanner. This is something I highly recommend before starting modifying any sliders here or any other settings. I highly recommend to start with the OSD scanner. Please remember that the OSD scanner here is working only with the NVIDIA GPU. It's not working with the AMD GPU. So if you have an AMD GPU, it's not going to work. It as as it is. You can leave it as it is, or you can change the settings. For example, let's say I want the power target on the maximum. This, I'm not going to change the memory offset, and the voltage, let me say we want 50% maybe. Okay, and then from here you can start. Alright guys, when the OSD scanner is finished, we can click OK. Then we can see here the voltage and the frequency tuner that is going to be applied on the user mode profile. So let's click on apply. And as we can see here, we can see the OSD scanner one. So this is a profile that the OSD scanner has tell us that this is the more safe thing to do. So if you want to do the most safe thing on overclock your GPU, you have to do simply the OSD scanner, apply it, and you are good to go. So you have the most safest thing. So with that said, let's have a look on what we have here on this main page. Moving here on the side, we have, okay, the OSD scanner and the 0 dB fan. This is something really useful in the ASUS graphic cards because it's going to enable the 0 dB fan. So it means that below certain temperature, the fans are not going to spin, so you have a more silent build. This is the on-screen display information. This is similar to something we have seen also on MSI Afterburner. I will leave the link on that tutorial down in the description. So basically, this is with this on-screen display information. When you open a game or when you launch something from benchmark, you can see all the information, like basically the same information that you are seeing here. You are going to see also with on-screen display information. We're going to have a look on that in a minute once we are finished with this main window here. Here we have the power detector. This is something really useful, the power detect, because it's going to, in certain GPUs, you have a small light near to the power pins. When we have two lights, one is white and the other one is red. When you enable this flag here, basically what it's going to do is going to tell us if the GPU is, if the power delivered to the GPU is proper or is not correct. So if you see the light, the white LEDs, it means that the power delivered by the power supply is okay. So the GPU is having the correct amount of power. So and if you see a red light, it means that the power delivered is not the amount of power that the GPU is asking. So probably the power supply is not delivering the correct amount of wattage to the GPU. So this is something I find it really useful. So here we have these tabs here, the power, which have two sliders, as we can see, the GPU voltage and the power target. As you can see, for example, here in the OSD scanner one, I choose to have a GPU voltage of 50% and the power target of basically 123%, because I want the OSD scanner to get all the power and to apply and after getting all the information from the power that I decide to give, and to apply that on the voltage tuner. You can choose if you want to see all of them. So here you can decide to modify and to which one of those information you want to see. Usually I leave it as it is because all of these informations are useful. So you can, for example, decide whatever you want to change here by just moving this ladder from left to right. And also here the same, if you want to apply to, if you want 123% or if you want to leave it at 100%, you can also click here when you can see this number and, for example, type 100%. The same applies here. This is the clock. We have the GPU boost clock. This is the default. These are the default settings, and this is memory clock default settings. I'm not going to change anything here at the moment. We're going to have a look at this after we finish with the overview, because here is something really interesting to see. This is the voltage tuner. Here we have the fan slider, so you can decide to have a fixed percentage of the fans. For example, you want them to spin always in any circumstances at 70%. You just change them and click apply, and then the fans will always spin at 70%. This is something I don't recommend if you want to have a silent build, or because otherwise the fans are going to spin always at 70%. Can reduce the temp, of course, because they are going to reduce the temp, but usually I leave it on auto because they are doing really a nice job. Certain GPUs, you can connect the external fans to them. For example, the RTX 3090, you can connect two PWM fans in, for example, the case fans, because you want them to spin when the GPU reach a certain temperature. So you can also do that here by enabling, for example, enable the external fan speed, save it, and here we go. We cannot change nothing here because the GPU doesn't have any external fan connected to the 4-pin connector. So if you want, you can connect those fans, for example the PWM fans of your case, and then you can change it from here. You can change the fans to match, for example, if you want to match the same speed of the GPU fans itself. I don't have that connected, so I'm going to, okay, thank you for reminding me, and I'm going to remove this. And here we have the GPU temp target. So we are going to say, okay, if the GPU is going to reach 83 degrees, then it's going to start throttling and it's going to reduce the performances. Usually I increased it about 87 or 88. It depends on how you want to set it up. So let me move everything to default here. So once we have this small overview, let's go here and check these profiles. So these are interesting because the default mode is, as its name it says, is default. It's not going to change anything. It's basically anything is default. I recommend you guys to don't change nothing of these three. The default is going to leave it as it is. The OC mode is going to change slightly the performances, because as we can see, it adds 5% here on the power target. It changed a little bit of the GPU clock and nothing else. So if you want to be safe anyway, you can just move to OC mode, or you can use the OC scanner. It's the same thing. And the silent mode is basically, as we can see, is going to reduce the power target. So maintaining the power, reducing the power target is going to, the fans are going to spin less, and are going to be always in a 0 dB mode. As we can see, also the GPU clock is reduced by 30 MHz. What I find interesting is the user mode profiles. We can add profiles here. So let me add one profile, for example, to show you how it works. So let me say I'm going to call it this test one. Alright guys, as we can see, that the profile that we created is basically duplicating the settings from the OC scanner. I will leave everything as it is because this is a kind of overclocking and undervolting thing. So we are not going to change the power. The power I will leave it as it is. I'm going to change only the memory here. I'm going to add basically, let me say, no, probably I will leave it as it is because already has 400 MHz. I will leave it as it is. One thing I'm going to change here is the voltage tuner, because as we can see, it's based on the OC, because as we know, the RTX 30 series, they can gain a little bit more of performance, having a little bit, being more efficient with the voltage and also the frequency. So let's say I want, for example, I'm gonna change probably this one. I want this to be okay as it is, so I'm going to apply it. So what we have basically done here is we're saying to the GPU to gain a certain amount of frequency, maintaining the same voltage. Let me close this one. What else we can change here? The temperature is okay. We are getting maximum. So here the fans, I usually leave it on auto, but if you want to change them, you can just click here. So what you can do here, you can decide to tell to the GPU to start start spinning the fans before certain temperature. I will leave it as it is because they have done a really nice job with this fan curve here. This area that you are seeing here is basically the 0 dB situation. So whatever the GPU is below 50 degrees, the fans are not going to spin. So are going to stay as they are. So close this. So let's apply this profile here, and I'm gonna save it also. One thing we can do with these profiles, we can create as many profiles as we want. So what we can do here, for example, is connect and tell to the GPU TWEAK software to trigger this profile if we open certain games or certain applications. So we can click on connect, and we can choose from here. It's going to take a little bit of scanning. We can choose from here which application we want. So I'm going to browse. So let's say in this case we want Cyberpunk. I'm going to select Cyberpunk, open it. I'm going to click on the test one and connect. So it means that every time I'm going to open Cyberpunk, of course GPU TWEAK should be opened on background because otherwise it's not going to work. So every time I'm going to open Cyberpunk, is going to trigger this profile, which is, let me say, an overclocked and undervolted kind of profile. And here we have the on-screen display information. I will get to this in a minute. Let me click also here in test one, connect, and that's it. I'm gonna close here, and whenever we're going to open Cyberpunk, is going to trigger this profile. So let's move to the on-screen display information. So we have two cases here. We have the GPU TWEAK style and the classic style. What is changing here is basically the way the information are showing. Let's check together what this means. So we can click here on preview to have a preview on how this information are showing when we want them to be shown on our games or our benchmark. So let me click on preview. As we can see with the GPU TWEAK, we have this is information. I find this to be easy and useful. I don't want that much information, but you can customize it, and if you want to add other information. Most important information for me are the current FPS, the GPU usage, and the temperature, the clock of course, and also the voltage, and sure also the CPU temperature and the CPU clock. See it from the preview. So this was the GPU TWEAK style. Let's move to the classic style and have a preview on how we can check all the things. This is a little bit different, so you can see the FPS here. Okay, this is the time, and here we have the GPU clock, the CPU clock, the temperature of both of them, how much VRAM we are using, and some other information. Okay, this we don't need. We can remove all this information after. So here we can choose how the information are going to be showing, following the display aspect ratio, or setting what is the display resolution of our display, so it can fit accordingly. Usually I leave it here, but you can change also on display resolution. Here, if you want to set a background while you are having this thing pop up, I usually don't set a background because I don't want to interfere with what I'm seeing on the monitor or on the game. So here we can decide which information we want to be shown. We can customize this information by just clicking here, and we can decide to, for example, drag and drop all this information. We want this to be shown here, and so on. So I'm not going to change nothing here because I prefer this order. You can copy and use this order if you want. As we can see, you cannot add more sensors here. There are the basic sensors here, and you can use only these sensors here. You cannot add other sensors. Comparing it with MSI Afterburner, I find this to be a little bit limited because you cannot add other information. But I believe also that most of us, we are not going to need all those sensors on all those information. What we are going to need is the temperature, usually the FPS, and probably the GPU clock, the memory clock, the CPU temperature of course, and the CPU clock. All other sensors, probably you are going to need it and use it in benchmark. You don't need all these sensors, just these are enough because you are going to have an overview of what is going on and what are the performances. Here we can just go on and customize a little bit of colors or fonts. Actually, there are only two, Calibri and Calibri Bold. And here you can choose the colors on which side, the alignment of the text also. So as you can see, you can copy these values if you want, if you like it. But you can of course customize it whenever you change here. You can decide, for example, to save it and just click on the preview, so you can have a preview of what you are changing here. Here we have the scale of the text. You can change it depending on what kind of monitor you have and what is the resolution of the monitor. So you can scale it bigger, or you can move it. I leave it as it is because I prefer to, when I open the preview, I prefer to see a little bit more information. But you can change it. For example, let me say we wanted 50%. As we can see, basically it's so small that you can see nothing. I'm gonna change it as it was. Here you can choose a background panel, basically the background that you can see behind all the values. And here when you want the information to be shown, so in the left corner and right corner, wherever you want. So this is the, let me say this is the display, so wherever you drag and drop this, the information are going to be shown. I find this blacklist here to be really interesting because each of these applications here can interfere with on-screen display information. including the IQ software from Corsair that I add here. You can just add other softwares if you want, other applications. Just click on browse and you can browse an application that you don't want the on-screen display information to be shown, even if you toggle the hotkey. So let me save everything here and let's move to the next menu, which is tools. You can download here tools. I don't need any of them, just a format for benchmarking. This shouldn't be here, and this even shouldn't be on internet, in my opinion. This is a software that I don't know why it exists. So let's move to the monitor thing. As we can see, the monitor is the interesting part. So here you can monitor the behavior of the GPU when you are benchmarking the GPU, or when you are gaming, if you want to collect the logs. So you can open this one and you can have in real time an overview on what's going on how much the GPU is being used, on the temperature here as we can see, and on the GPU clock and so on. You can customize this submenu by just clicking here and drag and drop all the information if you want to change the order of these sensors here. You can disable also if you don't need other sensors. So let me move back here and let me close. Remember, before closing here, remember to click on this unlink here. Otherwise, if you close this, it's going to close all the GPU tweak, all the software. So that was the monitoring. And okay, this is the GPU Z. It's going to open basically a version of the GPU Z. It's going to show us the information of the GPU it's asked. So that's all for this video, guys. If you find it helpful and if you like this video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.